They say madness begins quietly, not with screaming, not with chaos, but with a whisper that asks a question you cannot unhear. What if everything I believe is a lie? For most, that question fades into the noise of ordinary life. But for one man, it became a storm that never ended. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher who dared to look at life without comfort, without illusion, without mercy. He did not want to be wise, he wanted to be awake. And that awakening came with a cost. There is a point in every great mind where thought begins to devour itself, where the search for truth becomes too bright, too piercing, like staring directly into the sun until your vision begins to burn. Nietzsche lived in that light. He was not destroyed by ignorance, but by knowing too much. He saw through everything: morality, comfort, the fragile masks people wear just to survive another day. He stripped life down to its bones, and what he found terrified him, that underneath all our illusions lies the abyss. And when you stare too long into that abyss, it begins to stare back. Nietzsche did not go mad because he was weak. He went mad because he dared to see reality without anesthesia. He tore away every false god of meaning until nothing was left, not faith, not morality, not even hope. And yet he did not look away. Most people live their lives hiding from their own depths. They distract themselves with comfort, pretending their pain has a purpose, their struggles have meaning. But Nietzsche was obsessed with tearing those illusions apart. He wanted to know what remains of a man when all meaning collapses. What does the human spirit do when it realizes the universe does not care? That is the moment when either despair consumes you or you rise beyond it. Nietzsche called it becoming who you are. But this journey has a price. Because when you strip away everything that shields you from truth, you are left naked before existence. And the naked mind trembles. His madness was not sudden. It was a slow erosion, a war between his intellect and his humanity. The more he understood, the more the world around him began to dissolve. Every truth he uncovered felt like a blade, sharp, beautiful, but merciless. He once wrote, "One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star." But he forgot to mention that too much chaos, and the star burns itself out. Nietzsche was a man who tried to turn his suffering into power, to transmute pain into philosophy. He saw struggle as sacred, weakness as poison, and comfort as decay. But even he underestimated the storm within him. He believed the will could overcome everything. But what happens when the will itself breaks? He began to hear the cracking of his own mind, like ice beneath thin boots. The pressure of genius, isolation, and unrelenting thought pressed down until something inside him finally shattered. Yet even in that breaking, there was truth. Because his madness was not the opposite of wisdom, it was its consequence. When Nietzsche collapsed in Turin, embracing a beaten horse and weeping for its pain, it was not just an act of insanity. It was the symbol of a man who had felt too much, who could no longer separate his mind from the suffering of the world. The empathy that once fueled his brilliance now flooded him like a storm that no human could contain. His breakdown was not an end, but a transformation. The world saw madness, but perhaps it was the moment when his spirit broke the limits of human reason. The mind that once dissected reality with surgical precision had finally drowned in it. There is something terrifyingly human about Nietzsche's fall. We worship reason as if it were unbreakable, but reason is fragile. It bends under the weight of awareness. The deeper you understand life, the more you realize how much of it is built on lies, convenient fictions that keep us sane. Nietzsche tore those fictions away one by one, until there was nothing left but the raw, pulsing core of existence, suffering, struggle, will, and endless becoming. He confronted himself, his pride, his despair, his genius, until they all turned against him. And yet, in that descent, there was something holy. because few men have ever had the courage to face their own chaos so completely. Most people will never know what it means to think at that depth. They will never feel the world tremble beneath their own thoughts. But Nietzsche did, and it consumed him. His madness was not a disease to be cured. It was a mirror reflecting the cost of awakening in a world that fears truth. His writings after that point ceased not because he had nothing left to say, but because his entire being had become the message. He lived as a man who wanted to become more than human, and in the end, that desire tore him apart. The mind that wanted to overcome humanity was devoured by its own power. But maybe that is what it means to transcend, to burn so completely that you become your own funeral pyre. He was not defeated. He simply crossed a line that most of us will never approach, the line between sanity and ultimate awareness. Nietzsche's story is not just about madness. It is about the courage to face oneself without mercy. The human mind is not built to contain infinite truth. It needs illusion, small lies, to make the days bearable. But Nietzsche refused to lie to himself. He stood alone, without comfort, without belonging, without illusion. That was his strength and his tragedy. He once said, "I am not a man, I am dynamite." And he was. His ideas exploded through time, shattering everything we thought we knew about morality, purpose, and power. He gave the world the mirror it deserved, and humanity looked away, because his vision was too honest, too raw, too human. To confront your own madness is not to lose yourself. It is to find the edges of who you are. Madness is not always a descent. Sometimes it is an awakening that the world simply does not understand. Nietzsche's collapse reminds us that brilliance and fragility are twins. The same fire that lights the mind can burn it alive. But perhaps that is the price of greatness, to be consumed by the very truth you sought to reveal. So the question is not why Nietzsche went mad. The question is how he endured so long without breaking sooner. How he walked alone through the desert of his own mind and still managed to speak in poetry, in vision, in power. He taught us that the strongest souls are not those who escape pain, but those who use it, who transform it into strength, art, and creation. But he also showed us the danger of flying too close to our own depths, because when you climb beyond good and evil, when you see the machinery behind human nature, when you look too deeply into the void looks back. Nietzsche confronted his own madness not by fleeing from it, but by embracing it. He let it destroy him, and through that destruction he became immortal. His body failed, but his words still burn alive, defiant, eternal. The truth he uncovered is this: the mind is a battlefield. Sanity is not the absence of chaos, but the ability to dance with it without falling apart. Nietzsche fell, but in that fall he revealed what it means to be human in its purest, most terrifying form. He lived without illusion. He died without surrender. And in the ruins of his mind, he became what he always sought to be, a symbol of becoming, a flame that never stops burning. As he once wrote, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." If this made you think deeply, make sure you like this video, share it, and subscribe for more.